Okay, here we go. Is this recording? Let's see. I am currently fucking about trying to um get my live stream going. I am working. I have a live stream scheduled for Thursday, and I haven't done a live stream in like 2 years. So, um, yeah, it's lots changed in the past 2 years. Apparently, I had to uh, reopen my uh, what's it called, restream account, and I am just fucking about. I don't even know if this is going through. I'm mostly just doing a test mode here to see how this works out because I haven't done a live stream in a very long time, and it just took me quite some time to get the whole freaking thing set up on my laptop. It's a different laptop than I've been using. I have a, um, as you've noticed, a lot of my videos kind of take place in different places around my house. So there's a huge delay on here as I'm looking back and forth between um, the studio and or the okay, so I can do a chat overlay that way. I'm gonna have to play around with the backgrounds, but anyways, oh hey, someone's actually here. Hi. I'm just kind of figuring out. Hopefully I just didn't just flash my underwear at you. Um, I am trying to figure out getting my live stream set up. So I have one scheduled for this Thursday as part of the Botanica Obscura conference, which begins on Friday. So I figured before bed, I'm going to be a productive member of society and get my ADHD on and figure out how to do a live stream. Jesus. There seems to be a big lag. I'm trying to figure out if I can see the YouTube chat in the restream or if I have to watch or if I have to kind of toggle between the screens because I'm not seeing the rescreen. No, that's up. Anyways, so anyone is watching, hello. I know it's late on whatever day of the week it is, Tuesday, I believe. If you can hear me, let me know. And if there's like a delay, because I really can't tell. Because it's as I'm watching myself on the YouTube side, I'm about a good 30 seconds, well, maybe like a 15 to 30-second lag. And I'm not sure how to put not sure where the YouTube comments are on the restream side of it. Aha, let's see. Is it that button? Looks like it should be that button, but it's not that button. So anyhow, I'm gonna have to figure this out a little bit better. But if you're watching, I am just kind of hanging out. Yeah, it's been probably a full 2 years since I've done a live stream on YouTube. Although maybe it's just let's see. There we go. Let's see. I'm trying to see how long of a delay there is. Let's see how long of a delay there is. Yeah, I just unmuted myself to see if I can. Yeah, it's about a 30-second delay on um this one. Now my next feat will be trying to um actually know how I can text this out. Where did my phone go? Of patching someone in to do it, but I think I can do that using Zoom, or I can do it using who's it? Where did my phone go? Patching someone in. Okay, so I have my phone up. All right. I see your question there, and the frame picture I'll try to tilt up. Maybe it'll catch up with me. I'm gonna have to mute. Let's see. I don't know if this is trying to turn it. I don't know if it's catching up or not, but it's one of the portraits from Astaroth Mason did. I believe it's one of the Lilith ones, or the Scarlet and Atrix, I think. There we go. You can see it there. There's just a bit of a lag, so I'm trying to catch up with what I'm saying versus what is showing on the YouTube end. So yeah, this is fun. Lady thing back down there. So anyways, yeah, I'm just hanging out. Figured I'd try to figure this out now instead of the wait until the last possible minute to figure it out and then have like a complete meltdown and panic attack over not being able to figure it out very well. But I am just doing some. Let's see. I'm trying to move the camera around a little bit. Yeah, I was just starting to do a little bit of. I'm going to put a pillow on my lap. I was just trying to do some ritual maintenance, as it were, just little things. I am working with Mammon. This is my Mammon candle. Ooh, it's flaming. Excuse me. I think this is actually the last of the candles I made a couple of years ago. And the sticker design was from a serial cravat. Yeah, it's weird because like when I look at myself in Restream, it's right on. I'm doing what I'm doing at this point, but when I look at it on YouTube to see the chat, it's completely off. So I have to kind of figure out like how to get the chat to interface from YouTube to Restream. There seems to be a way to. I don't know where it went. Did that? Oh, chat overlay. Excuse me. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing any of the comments in the chat overlay, which is why I have to kind of look at it from the YouTube, and I have YouTube on my phone, and I have the Restream here. Anyways, this is a Mammon candle. The design, it's actually a sticker, but well, I have it printed on a sticker that I have on the candle. There's a little bit of a glare, trying to get that less glary. Serial Cravat designed that for me last year, or maybe the year before. So that is my Mammon candle, whose flame is a flaming. I'm just doing a little bit of ritual maintenance work. So, and while I'm doing that, I figured I'd just, rather than record a video, test out my live stream capabilities and see what's up. So, if anyone has any questions or, feel free to hit up in the chat. I do think I have, I have super chats. I wasn't monetized the last time I did, and super stickers. I wasn't monetized the last time I did live chats. So, yay. So I can get super chats now. I also have my Mammon, The Triangle of Manifestation, by Elena Lemmy of Limitless Liberation. So I kind of have that as a little bit of a focal point. So, what I'm doing, just I have a couple candles that I'm working on anointing and getting ready to go. This is my favorite ritual tool is a paintbrush, but this is a mixture of several different oils and some gold glitter of mine. It's the Mammon oil, Crown of Success, Abundance, Money Drawing, and Fast Luck, I believe. So, Kendall, you are like flaming up a storm. So, I am working on just getting a couple candles prepared. And these are always a pain. I have to say, I love these candles. They're from Dorothy Morrison. You can get them on Amazon and like some occult stores. So the triple X money magnet, and they come with like a little incantation on the back, which I think is nice. And then this is the Saint Dorothy the Wicked, the magical miracle worker. The magical cure-all for impossible situations. So, hello, Medusa. Hello, Aeon. I am just testing out using, I have a live stream scheduled as part of the Botanic Obscura on Thursday, and I haven't done a live stream in about 2 years. So, I am trying to get all the tech to work, and I'm also doing it on my Mac because it's more mobile. And oh, thank you. My Etsy shop is so awesome. I actually have it's always something with selling platforms. I usually say I have a lot more on my there's the scissors on my website, but I've been having issues with the TLDR, if you've been following any of my updates and things like that, like I have a lot of issues because of like the types of herbs I use, and even sometimes normal herbs. So back, I guess maybe in January or February, I had issues with PayPal that I had to remove some of my products because it buried somewhere deep in their policies. They do not. Ooh, this candle smells nice. They do not support the sale of certain types of herbs, which were ones that were used in some of my flying ointments, like I think it was the Taurostramonium, fly agaric, and one other. Oh, poppies. I'm like, that's like actual opium poppies. It's just the poppy flowers, like, which is no different than poppy seeds. So, I don't know what the issue was, but I had to. Hi, Soaring Eagle. So I had to like quickly, maneuver and remove stuff from like a lot of the flying ointments and tinctures and stuff from my website, and get them so I could get my PayPal account reinstated. My business PayPal account, and that was a pain in the butt. So I'm looking for a permanent solution to it. The problem is it's just going to take a lot of work on my end. So I have kind of a workaround. There's like a little like order form where you just shoot me an email and I make you a custom listing, or you can order things on eBay. But I have most of my I think all my flying ointments and tinctures are on eBay now. I had an issue with eBay and the smoke blends, even though they don't contain tobacco. They somehow are a tobacco product and go against their policies, and I'm just tired of arguing with people over these things. So the long-term solution is I need to look at a third-party payment processor, ones that deal with high-risk companies, like ones that would deal with like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and stuff like that, because technically tarot readings are a risky thing. So a lot of payment processors won't allow you to have tarot readings listed on your website because it's a risky thing. Like I actually, QuickBooks dropped, I can't process anything through QuickBooks anymore because they dropped me because I have Oracle readings and past life readings on my website. So that sounds like an easy solution of getting a third-party payment processor, but I use Squarespace and they only seem to integrate with Stripe and PayPal. So what that means is I'm probably going to have to move the commerce over to something like my Shopify with a third-party processor, and then reintegrate that with my Squarespace website so I don't have to redo everything from scratch, because oh my God, that's like it. I swear to God, I felt like I was working on my website for like a year when I switched from what I have before that, Weebly, to Squarespace. And I don't think I ever actually finished. So Medusa asks, have you ever worked with Astaroth? If so, how was it? I tend to work more with Astarte than Astaroth, even though they're kind of the same. I have worked, I'm just sitting here looking at my piles of things. I do have my Astaroth medallion from Goetic Impressions. And I did work with Astaroth on the creation of, I think it's my magical attack protection spray, which is why I ended up having that, because it's something I use to kind of bring that energy in there. Beth asks, have I considered WordPress? I don't know if WordPress has gotten its shit together over the years. Like in my former incarnation as an office worker, I was a web content manager, so I'm very familiar with all the content management systems, and WordPress always was a giant pain in the ass and sucked. So I never really, I always avoided WordPress. So, but I know a lot of people use Shopify now to integrate within their websites. So I think it's like WordPress sort of like started out as kind of like a blog, and then it kind of like, it still has like a blogging, not so much website structure to it. So, thank you, Soaring the Eagle. Oh, you have the same one from Medusa. Yeah, I have a whole pile of. It's a little probably hard to see from here, but I have a whole pile of medallions right here. I'm trying to figure out a way to. I need to get like some kind of like, almost like a coat rack hanger where I can hang them, because they always are getting tangled up. But I have so very many of them. So yeah, I'm just, it's a little hard probably for you to see here, but I'm just kind of playing around with some candle stuff while I'm chatting with everyone. Getting my, why did it just do that? I think I accidentally hit the chat overlay button. There we go. And we're back. I'm still trying to figure out how to freaking live stream again, but thank you guys all for watching. WooCommerce, I've heard stuff about over the years. I've heard good stuff about WooCommerce. So yeah, it's just like I have to look into all these things. I mean, the first part about it, the first step is going to be finding a payment processor and being like, look, this is what I do. I sell occult goods and services. Are you gonna, like, you know, is this a problem? Because I've just had so many issues over the years. I know I'm not the only one, but it's just been a constant uphill battle because I also use other platforms. You know, I use Etsy, I use eBay, I use Amazon, and everyone functions like their own independent country. So I am currently I'm dressing the candle. I like to dress candles. I highly recommend paintbrushes for that. A little less messy. My other candle holder. So, Medusa asks, how do you personally work with the medallions? Sometimes I use them to charge things, like when I with the ones that I use for the magical attack spray, the vampire vampiric energy protection, mirror warding, and invisibility cloak. I use those when I create them to kind of as like an energy source for them to charge them. I also have like sigils on the outside of the gigantic jars that when I make them in like gigantic gallon jars. So I use them for that. Sometimes like I have them on my altar a lot. I'm pretty sure I have 2 of the Lucifer ones at this point. So they're a little heavy to wear as like a jewelry piece. Because they'll just be like thunking you in the chest. But Soaring Eagle asks, which demonolatry is one of the parts of while demonolatry is one of the parts of my eclectic witch path, I do feel as though those I had connections with in the past feel willing to work together again. Thought I'd share. That's awesome. I mean, the video that just dropped today, I was going through some old journals from way back a long time ago in a far away place, where I had to I think Beelzebub had urged me to go back and look at this, and I've looked at them before over the years, and like I can see where like I'm like, oh, this was like the first connection with Lucifer and Abaddon, even though I didn't know who they were at the time. So I go through in that video that dropped today about some of those early experiences I had, not kind of knowing what was always going on there, but yeah. So hi GG. Have you experienced the Aeon asks, have you experienced the current of Guinevere, Merlin, and King Arthur? That is not one currently I've explored. When I first started out working with witchcraft stuff back in like the mid 1990s, I was very into like the Celtic lore back then. So I think maybe somewhere in the recesses of my mind and possibly my old ass journals, I have some stuff in there about that. But yeah, I've been trying to, it's really fascinating going back and reading these things that I wrote like 30 years ago, which also makes me feel really fucking old that I wrote these things like 30 fucking years ago. So anyways, this is my candle that I just lit and I don't remember the name of. It is the Rich Bitch XXX Money Magnet candle from Dorothy Morrison. I really highly recommend her candles. I think they're sold by Coventry Creations, but you can get them on Amazon, as well as like I've seen other occult stores carrying them as well. So this is candle number 1 that I was working with. And candle number 2, also one of the Dorothy Morrison ones. It's a little bit of a glare, but this is Saint Dorothy the Wicked, the magical miracle worker, the magical cure-all for impossible situations. So I like that they come with little incantations on the back of them. Gigi says, Beelzebub has been reaching out to me, led me to buy his compendium from Become a Living God. He seems to like Michael Ford's work. Yeah, Beelzebub, I don't work with Beelzebub a whole lot. Although when I was reading the compendium, I was sitting in the salon getting my hair done. This was like during COVID too. And a freaking fly lands on the book. I'm like, damn it, Beelzebub! I am reading as fast as I freaking can. Thankfully, there weren't too many people in the salon, but my hairdresser got a kick out of that. She's like, girl, why you always got flies following you around? I'm like, light a little bit of incense. in there. So let's see, where did we leave off? Medusa asked, do I work an ancestor altar? Yes, I do have. I don't. It's more of like I do have an ancestor altar to my Ukrainian lineage. I had four. I mean, I have kind of had it in varying combinations over the years. I'm running out of altar space, and now that I'm thinking about that, I forgot to add that one into something I'm doing, and I need to order something else. Anyways, but yeah, I formally put my Ukrainian ancestor altar together about a year ago when the war in Ukraine started. So sort of as a way to honor, um, I mean, I don't know them, but I do still have some blood relatives in the Ukraine, according to my 23andMe report. So, and I'm gonna open this candle, and let's see. Gigi asks, what's he like on a day-to-day? He's been with me leading up to his surgery, but I still don't quite know him that well. Beelzebub has been very different for me than other people's workings with him. Like the video I dropped earlier in the week, like a lot of times we talk about emotional pestilence. So, talking about like, things going on in the world. Occasionally he'll pop up in other things, or hold on, dropping shit everywhere. There we go. So occasionally he'll show up, and although I did have a weird fly infestation in my house one time in like the middle of winter. I must have killed about 40 different well, I had to, like, because it was just like I work here and it would just be unsanitary, and I was like, sorry Beelzebub. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Medusa. You look great. Time doesn't exist. Yeah, I've aged well, and I found the secret to aging well is don't have children, because it certainly hasn't been the years of clean living that I've not done. I could, but that and a little black magic and a good skincare routine. So I'm dressing this particular candle. So. And Medusa says, if someone hates black metal, can they still be left-hand path? I listen to Taylor Swift, so I mean, I listen to a little bit of everything. So, like, yes, I listen to black metal, but I also listen to Taylor Swift. Who doesn't love some Tay-Tay? There comes a point in time where you just don't give a fuck about what people think about your musical tastes, and I've been at that phase for a very long time. I'm just like, if you don't like me or think I'm stupid because I like Taylor Swift, I don't care. So, got candle number 2 dressed, and we're gonna get that lit. So I find more and more, well, this technically isn't it's becoming an altar, but because of like the physical limitations I have, it's really hard for me to work at my altars. This at least is sort of, sofa adjacent, in which I have a full-length heated memory foam, what's it called? Like heating pad with vibrational settings. So, let's see. Alrighty. That's very hot. So, put my stuff there. And I have so much stuff, I don't always know where to put stuff, so I'm just gonna put things on top of other things. Oops, I went out of focus there a little bit. Let's see. Who is in the painting with the skulls on the bottom? That was tilt the camera up. That is the Scarlet Enatrix by Astaroth Mason. I think you still can get it on the Become a Living God website. Aeon asked, do you work with animal spirits directly? Yes, 2 of the power animals I work with are the Phoenix and Hummingbird, are ones that have come to me. So those are ones that I work with. More in my journeying states and things of that nature and healing. I mean, they're part of, like, I do a lot of self Reiki, so they're part of that, you know. Like hummingbird will take things and carry them off, you know. So, yeah. And the next thing I'm doing is I've been this whole year has just been one gigantic ass pain. So I've been currently dealing with for the past since Friday, the whole Silicon Valley bank collapse royally screwed a lot of Etsy sellers because Etsy used Silicon Valley Bank to process our payment distributions. So the distributions we were supposed to get on Friday didn't go through just out of nowhere. And then it was kind of like, well, what's going on? And, you know, it was getting into Monday. We still hadn't seen, you know, our deposits come through. So, you know, it's a little harrowing. And finally, the weekend deposit went through last night, but now they're taking a long time to hit our accounts. So I'm doing a little bit of money magic because I was like, and then randomly, like, things are hitting my account at such random times. Like, I bounced one of my accounts because like something came out before money cleared, and I'm like, but yeah, this whole year has just been a gigantic ass pain of annoying things happening. So I'm doing a little bit of money magic to account for such fuckery. Because, yeah, between dealing with the stuff with PayPal and my website and the cost of everything going up every single time I do something, Jesus Christ. So I'm currently anointing my fancy little Killstar wallet, and I don't have any cash on me, but I have some coins. That I am just anointing things with some of my fancy blend of various money oils. My mammon oil keeps sliding, so mammon, money drawing, fast luck, crown of success and abundance. So I'm just kind of anointing things in my wallet with them, because that's never a bad idea to do. And I love me a good paintbrush, so let's see, let's put that in there. I'm gonna just kind of dip a little in my coinverse. So that's something that I wanted to do, and no, it just did. Let's see. Medusa says, such a shame on what happened to become a living god. Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about everything at this point, but you know, like professionally, I've been recalibrating a lot of what I do and how it's done and what I want to. I'm trying to think how to put it. I talked about a little. I just didn't really go into a lot of detail about it because Nele, the drama Rama Llama circle ever continues. But, you know, it is what it is, as they say. Aeon says, very interesting. Hummingbird spirit, butterfly spirit, and jaguar spirit have led me to Mesoamerican traditions. That's awesome. I was aware of the Phoenix spirit was one that I started working with maybe sometime last year or the year before. Hummingbird is a recent one. I started going to a local shamanic healer, and he's kind of informed me about the hummingbird that was just kind of there and taking things away. So that's kind of how I became aware of that one. I think there's a jungle cat, but I'm not sure. I really hope there's a capybara, because that's my soul animal. That's my power animal, the capybara. chill as fuck, and other animals like to sit on top of it. Soaring Eagle says, question, Jen, are they often quiet or loud when they want someone to work or be in a relationship with them? I feel the way they are willing and calling is quiet but patient. I mean, it really depends. There certainly was definitely a point where they were kind of in that watching and waiting kind of period with me. I mean, when you're working with spirits, timelines are, it may have taken me 20 years to get my head out of my ass and realize it, but, to them, that was probably a blink of an eye. So other times they're not so subtle. Like, I forget what was going on, but it was recently, Santa Muerte was trying to warn me of something. And like, as I walked past the room, I looked, I'm like one of her statues, the one especially for money, was like on its side randomly, and I was like, all right, the cats don't usually go up here, so I don't know what the fuck happened. But yeah, she's usually one that can be a little less than subtle. Beth asks how my work with Lilith is going. Lilith has been coming through very strong for so many people. And I'm just realizing that I'm thirsty and I forgot to, is this clean enough to drink out of? Yes, it is. I get a lot of candles that come in these like vintage Cape Cod glasses, and it's thankfully gone through the dishwasher so I can drink out of it without hopefully getting candle taste and residue in it, because otherwise I'm going to be chugging out of a bottle, like a juice bottle on the live. So, okay, that's good. Doesn't taste like candles. Whee! Yeah, the dark goddesses have been coming through really strong for a lot of people lately. I get, sometimes it'll just, I'll be in the middle of a conversation with someone like online or whatever, and I'll just be like, okay, I gotta go, something will just come through. Or even as I'm talking to someone, I'm like, the messages are kind of coming through me that way. So, I've actually been working with Medusa a lot lately. So, but it just, the dark goddesses are really kind of on the move, as it were. Medusa also asked, do you do ceremonial magic? I do not. I think that's one of those things for me, between my neurodivergence and my chronic pain and mobility issues, is just a little too much for me. So I try to adapt things. That's why I recently launched the Accessibility Magic series, to make things, as I've had to adapt my practices over the years, because I have a degenerative spinal condition, which right now is not acting up. My back's been fine. However, my asshole right hip has been causing a lot of issues. So that's another thing. So in addition to my usual ADHD stuff, so that's why I've been doing the Accessibility Magic series, which I'm really excited about. I'm gonna have some guests come in and talk about other things. Aeon says Lilith, Nama, Agrat, and Aishethzunium, I don't think I pronounced that right, are fasting. Yeah, I've worked with Lilith, Nama a little bit. I haven't worked with Agrat Bat Malat or Aisheth, that I know of as of yet. Because sometimes, spirits come to me, or like I'll get like a download of something and I'm like, I have no idea who's telling me this. Soaring Eagle says, I thought about doing a demonology reading at some point. Wonder if or who would be more so willing, confirmed, at least to get a direction about it. Yeah, I mean, I have several different decks that I use. When I do, I think it's the Path of the Dark Spirit reading, I have the Occult Tarot, the Daemon Tarot. I have like so many different decks, like the Angelarium, Mausolea, Oracle of Souls, Fallen Angels, the Oraculum, Leviathan. So all those are good for kind of piecing together like what your path is and perhaps like which demons want to work with you. So Medusa asks, in your opinion, is it okay for the Westerners to work with the Hindu pantheon like Lakshmi, Kali, Shiva, Ganesh, etc.? You know, that's one of those things I was actually just talking to someone about this last week, where it's like we have so much from Hindu culture that's incorporated already into Western culture, like yoga, chakra work, things like that, tantra. So when it comes to working with the particular entities, I mean, I know there's a lot of back and forth on what's cultural appropriation versus a cultural appreciation, what's a closed practice, what's not a closed practice. My feeling on that is I cannot account for how many past lives I've had, so one of them may have been in that particular area. If that's the case, if a particular entity is coming to you and wanting to work with you, or you're really called to work with them, I'm more worried about pissing off the spirit world than I am people. I mean, I'm not trying to sound callous by saying that, because I do think there are some practices that are closed for a reason, but it doesn't mean you can't go through proper channels and be initiated into them. I know quite a few people who are, high level Santeria, not Palomé, but Palabirimbe initiates, and they've gone through and, they're part of those houses and things like that. So, I mean, if you're called to that type of thing, I would just do it respectfully. What I've seen to be problematic, especially with people on the left-hand path dabbling in voodoo, is that they're not respecting the religion of voodoo. They're taking the voodoo practices and using them and working with the law for things, but there's a missing component there, and like that shit will fuck you up. Trust me. Made a mistake once, not going to do that again. But it's I mean, it's complicated. I mean, I tend to think like as long as you do something respectfully, like there's so much that's incorporated from the Eastern world, like Reiki, Qigong, Tai Chi, things like that. That seems to be fine. No one's saying, cultural appropriation or that's closed or whatever. But, some areas are, it's just different. So I would just treat everything respectfully and, do as much research and learn as much as you can. Like, I wouldn't just call upon Kali because I'm, pissed off and want to destroy my enemies. Like, I would work on building that relationship with Kali. So I hope that answers that question succinctly as best as I can. It can be, the cultural appropriation part of things in close practice can be a hot button issue. A lot of times it completely lacks nuance from a lot of people. They just hear a word and it's whispered down the alley, purple monkey dishwasher is bad and don't do that. And there's no, reasoning. There's no looking in, there's no, I heard this is bad, so I'm just going to pass it down that this is bad and we shouldn't do it. And there's a lot of nuance that's lost. Medusa asks, are you a demonolatress or, I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I don't really think about categorizing myself too much. I mean, I work with the dark goddesses primarily. I work with the infernals occasionally. I think I've worked with Archangel Raphael before. Various gods and goddesses. I don't know. Polytheistic. I'll work with whoever. Sorry, I'm getting a little stiff sitting on. I'm trying not to flash my ass at everyone because I'm wearing a skirt. I have to scooch back a little bit to get onto the comfy part of the couch because I currently have sort of like a footstool thing in front, and then like a little table, and then like my other table thingy because I don't know, adaptation. This is fun. I forgot about, like, I've been wanting to do live streams again didn't for the 2 years that I haven't been doing live streams. I've been wanting to do live streams more. I just, for whatever reason, didn't get around to it. So Anne asks, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself? Oh, Jesus Christ. I feel like I would buy more I would tell myself to go buy more tickets to shows for now dead rock stars. Practical stuff like that, you know. Not that I, you know, I at least got to see David Bowie on one of his last tours in like 2002 or 2003. So I'm okay there. I would have loved to have seen Prince though. Medusa asks, have you heard of spontaneous healing with Archangel Raphael? How do you think this is possible? I mean, it really depends on the type of healing that is being done. I don't know if you have an example of something. Like, I mean, I do Reiki healing and you know, crystal healing, and I work with different spirits and entities on that. So, I mean, is it possible for spontaneous healing? It depends on the situation. You know, if you broke your leg, I don't think it's spontaneously going to heal, no matter how hard you pray. But you know, it's definitely, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, but it would depend on the situation. Beth asks, how do you protect yourself when working with dark spirits? Are they deceivers? We think they are. Actually, I have more problem with humans than I have with dark spirits. So, but that said, you know, having a good spiritual hygiene practice is going to protect you in a lot of ways. So I do a lot of salt baths. I do a lot of smoke cleansing. I do self Reiki every day. Well, I've at least gotten into that practice. Occasionally, I need to do the big gun stuff, so I will have my Reiki master do, like, I will book a session with her, and she'll just, you know, do the full, you know, sandblasting car wash, you know, Reiki on me. It was interesting the last time that we did a session. She was like, yeah, your physical body is fine, but she's like, you got all this like tar shit like in your auric field. I'm like, okay, that's why I kept seeing the little patches of like tar, like someone had just kind of flung tar balls at me. But as far as that goes, I mean, I keep a lot of protection crystals around. Like something that's good. I talked about this. I don't know if I released the video yet or not. I don't think I did. But like labradorite, which is a stone I can never pronounce. I just happen to have like I love the flash on this. I just have a palm stone. Like labradorite is a really good stone to protect from psychic attacks. So if you're doing work in like the astral realm or things like that, you know, tuck a piece under your pillow, between your mattress, under your bed. It's a really protective stone for that. Black tourmaline is always good. I grid out, like I have, especially because you're going to be the most vulnerable, like when you're asleep. So I have I have this like really thick mattress topper, and between that and the mattress and the little divots in the mattress, I have gridded out various things. You know, I usually kind of have the border being protection and various intentions. I'm about to do my seasonal changeover of it. I should actually get that ready. I have to change my sheets soon, so I'm going to do it all at the same time. But that's always a good way to protect yourself when you might be more vulnerable. Or you can wear a piece of jewelry, like black tourmaline is always great. Spirits, if they're deceivers, they think they are. I haven't really run into that myself per se. I sometimes think that the biggest deceivers we encounter are ourselves. Um, in that, trying to think of a delicate way to put this. There's a fine line between psychosis and gnosis. And that sometimes people can be working with something they think is an entity, and really it's just kind of like an ego projection of their own nonsense. So, yeah, let me get comfortable here. All right, let me find there we go. Turning on the heating pad thingy. So, let's see. What do I think of Ghosts music? I like some of their stuff. How did someone describe it? Pop Satanism, or pop satanic music. I like them. I'm generally pretty open to different types of music. There's some types I don't like. But that was usually is because it probably triggers something in my sensory processing. Like drum and bass always made me really twitchy. I think I'm too old to get dubstep, but that also makes me twitchy the same way that, drum and bass did. So, generally don't like gospel music. Psychosis and Gnosis, I'll remember that one. Yeah. A friend of mine and I were joking about a new personality disorder we invented called narcissistic personality disorder. So, yeah, it's. I mean, everyone develops their own relationships with these different entities, and you can see in the different videos where people are talking about their experiences, and now we're into the propping myself up with pillows portion of the evening. How we work with them, like if like I have another video coming out. I don't know why I've made more videos now since the first of this, between January, February, and this half of March. I made more videos this year so far than I did all of last year. I don't know if that was just because I was in like a freaking lead blanket of a depressive cycle, but like the energy has shifted and changed a lot. I think right now, I think some of that has to do with Saturn moving into Pisces when it had been in Aquarius for the past 3 years. So I think there's a lot of energetic shift around that. So what's the best way to discern ego projection from genuine spirit encounter? There's going to be times where even the best of us are, when you're working with the spirit, especially if you're asking for advice or you're talking about something about developing or in your life, where there's the danger in that you're kind of projecting on them, telling you what you want to hear. But something that usually you can kind of figure that out. I think sometimes the people that teeter on the psychosis versus gnosis probably don't realize it. There is, hi Adriana. One of the things that is very prevalent and common, and both hands up to this, is there is a lot of people who come to the occult, regardless of whether you're like woo-woo, new age, white light, or all the way over here in the darkness. There's a lot of spiritual seekers. There's a lot of people that come here, they're very vulnerable. There's a lot of people who come here who come from, they have a lot of trauma in their life, come through a lot of abuse, sometimes religious abuse, and have either undiagnosed mental health issues and addictions, or have mental health issues and addictions but are working on them. So it really kind of runs the gamut. So, I usually try to do some divination or something to kind of get a second opinion, as it were. Like if I'm like I just did this recently with a friend of mine where like I had some we were there was something I was communicating about with the spirit world. It pertained to soul walk-ins. And I was talking to her about it, and we were kind of going back. And I'm like, let's just do some divination on this to try to see what's going on here. So you can do things like that to kind of, see if you're getting the same thing. Like one of the things I've noticed, like when it's different example, but when I do like healing sessions, like in Reiki, like we'll talk at the end, and it's interesting because we'll see and experience a lot of the same things. Like, when I said to my Reiki teacher, like, oh, I just kept seeing all these, I feel like you're pulling all these little tar patches off me, and stuff. She's like, yeah, I like buckets of tar. That's that exactly it, like, because we were seeing and sensing the same thing. So that can sometimes give you sort of the validation. Because if I said, I was feeling like you were pulling tar off me, and she's like, no, it was all sparkles and rainbows. Well, then, okay, that might be something completely different. Me grab my goblet of diet cranberry juice. I live a wild life. Does anyone have any other questions or comments or things because it's about 1 a.m. here. I am trying to get back on a slightly less messed up sleeping schedule, but I usually don't go to bed till like 2 or 3, so that's my normal. All sparkles and rainbows. Yes, I always used to describe myself as a sparkle goth riot girl. I do love me some glitter and the shinies. But another thing that you can also look at too is the synchronicities of different things that are happening around you in your life, or like something that just keeps coming up for you over and over again. Like I don't know when I am scheduling the video to drop. I just finished editing it tonight, but like soul walk-ins or walk-in souls was something that like I kept getting this, like it just kept coming up for me in these random ways. And I'm like, I had a client book me for a reading about that topic, and I really needed to do a deep dive into it, to really be able to fully understand the spectrum of the concept. But then I realized there were all these little things that had come up, like it was in like there was a random old television show I watched, and like that was part, there was a whole part of it that involved walk-in souls. And like, so like this thing just kept coming up again. I'm like, all right. And then after I'd done the reading, I felt like there was a reason for this. And so I was doing some deeper dives into it recently. And yeah. So let's look at the, do I work with any light beings? What would you describe as light beings, like angelic or something else in that light realm? Soaring Angel asks, if I did want to do a reading, which do you recommend from the shop? I mean, if you're looking at one that about like your path, the Path of the Dark Spirit one would probably be the best. That's the most popular one that people do. And the way I do readings, and it's easier for me with my clusterfuck of neurodivergence. I have a gigantic wall of oracle decks, so I usually pull out if you have any specific questions, or if it's just a general reading, I'll pull from multiple decks. And that way, when I do that, if I pull from 4 or 5 decks, it kind of starts to build a story, and you'll start to see how things link back and forth. So, and it'll give you confirmation like, okay, you really need to work with this, or you need to work with this particular entity keeps coming up for you, or you're getting a whole lot of underworld spirits that are coming up. So that's I feel like that's something that comes up very commonly. I don't know why, but that's definitely something that you can do. I also do past life readings. I'm working on adding a couple other things. One, it's not up yet, but one of the was something that was kind of gifted to me by the spirit world. It's combining my Reiki training to help elevate the psychic abilities for, because I have a lot of clients and customers who can't hear spirits or see them or sense them. And like the thing that I noticed after I got my Reiki attunements was that it blew my like my ability to channel and like sense and hear and see things like wide open. So what I'm working on with that, with the attunement ceremonies that go with each of the Reiki symbols, is kind of combining that to be with specific spirits. So like if you want to take a Reiki class, they're mostly certification classes that you would have to do in order to get the Reiki attunements. So I'm kind of working through that right now, the process for doing that. And I need to do some test runs to see how the mechanics work and if it actually really works for and helps anyone. What is your favorite archangel? Well, my archangel is Agiel, and or my guardian angel is Agiel. Not one that's very well known, but I'm trying to remember what I read about. Scary angel, one of like the fallen angel class, but also kind of has alien-like features, and I guess is sort of connected with people thinking they've been kidnapped by aliens when he makes contact with them. So that's an interesting one. Sounds like, I have to look more into it and develop a deeper relationship. Like I know when I was a child, like very, very young, like I remember talking to Archangel Gabriel, but I don't know. I'm kind of deathy, so I'd probably have to say my favorite one is Azrael. What is your favorite book on magic of all time? Wow, yeah, I don't know. What would be my favorite book on magic of all time? Um, I would have to break that down by categories. Because there's so many different types of books on magic. Like if I want to look at something that's more like philosophical, like about Luciferianism, Michael W. Ford's Apotheosis is great. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't actually see my bookshelf from here. I'm like, it's just a blur. What do I have near me? These are books I'm reading. One I would highly recommend is The Magic of Reiki by Christopher Penczak. If you're looking at incorporating like energy work into your magical practice. I need to put that somewhere else. I read a lot on average. I probably read about 50 books a year, so I read a lot. And I mostly read like nonfiction stuff, so like I'm like, what have I read? I'm like, The Crystal Healer. It's a book of, tells me all about the crystals and shit. Like I'll just read reference books. I'm that big of a freaking nerd. Let's see. But oh yeah, Raphael, is he your favorite? I don't know. I don't really pick favorites with things most of the time. Like, I mean, there's ones I work with more than others, but I don't know that I would categorize anything as a favorite because I have a hard time categorizing things as such. I think it's one of those things where my autism and ADHD kind of conflict, because like the autistic side of me is very like methodical and like is all into like organization and categorization and taxonomies and putting things here and there. Like I used to do information architecture, web content management. My autism loved that. ADHD is just chaos, but even that is like I have such a diverse wealth of interests. Like I would have to pick a category and then pick a favorite from each of those categories. Let's see, angel extraterrestrials. I haven't really done much working on the extraterrestrial realm. Do you work with the Kabbalah or the Qliphoth? I would like to. I haven't as of this point. I kind of look at where I get pulled each year. 2021 was my year of Reiki. 2022 was my year of like crystal nonsense and healing and learning about that. This year, I feel like I'm going back to my roots in demonology a little bit more, but I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I mean, I really would like to study the Kabbalah and Qliphoth more. I did start reading Asenath Mason's Qliphothic meditations, but I kind of dropped off from it at some point. Do I know much about Aramon? I am currently working through reading Curtis Joseph's book, The Magic. I think it's the Magic of Aramon, Black Magic of Aramon. Very dark entity to work with. But I'm still learning that one in particular. Scotty says the best one is always the next one. Yeah, I mean, I have such diverse interests that like I'm just looking at the books with an eye shot. I have a book on ritual baths, crystals for karmic healing, karmic connections, the happy Satanist, gold mining your shadow, a bunch of books on crystals, the curious lore of precious stones, the poison path herbal, and most of the grimoires, the lesser key of Solomon. I'm interested. I just picked up the Picatrix because that's something that kept coming up for me. Like that kept coming up for me within the past year. I'm like, all right, well, I've got to pick this up and learn about it. I love S. Conley's work. I think the one book I keep on my desk is S. Conley's work cunning for demonolatry. I have the complete book of demonolatry, and I'm also working my way through her latest, How to Draw Friends and Sacrifice Toxic People, not literal sacrifice, but black magic for glamour, influence, and letting go. I particularly like S. Conley's work a lot because she really makes it accessible in a way that is easy to do, like the spells that are in here. So, because right now I just don't have the wherewithal to do a spell or a ritual that takes me like 3 hours to do. I need something that, a set it and forget it spell. Like I do the thing and then I'm like, okay, candle, do your thing. So I like that she writes in an accessible way that's very easy to understand. And yeah. Have you ever worked with Mark Allen Smith's work? Not as of yet, and that's another one that keeps coming up that I need to look into. I think I did look in. I think his books are really expensive. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm thinking of the right person. Is that's the Primal Craft? But again, I do read a lot, but it's I'm trying to do for the first live is to read all the books I own already. I'm still buying more books, but I'm trying to limit how many more books I buy unless I have to buy them. So Medusa asks, what's the best way to avoid any negative karma while doing baneful magic? That's a good question. I'm trying to think of a good way to answer that. Negative karma, baneful magic. Well, I mean, I look at it this way. If the baneful magic is justified, I don't worry about it. Like, I'm not, I mean, I'm also not going to curse someone over, because I stubbed my toe or because they took my parking space or because I'm butthurt about some freaking drama nonsense. Those people probably have some shit to work out with when it comes to their karma. Not that I'm judging, but it's there's a time and place for everything, and I am one that's very much about balance. Um, so yeah, I've heard that too, Matthias, about Mark Allen Smith stuff. Curtis Joseph talks about him a lot. So the best way to avoid negative karma, I mean, I think it's just a balance. It's kind of, I'm not one to follow any of those like the Wiccan Rede or the Threefold Law or any of that stuff. Like, it's kind of, I look at, if you do a lot of good in the world, it also makes up for the, when you have to do something less good, like baneful magic. And often, when you're doing something baneful, it's, there's a reason for it. And you can also undo baneful magic. You can remove those. You can do curse removals and things on stuff you've done. Because, we all, there's times where you have like, you get bent out of shape about something and, light a doom candle and call it a day and whatnot. Then you're like, maybe I overreacted to that and whatnot. And, or you could have gotten just the wrong, you might have been going on the wrong information or understanding of the situation, because I've had that happen before too. Stuff's pretty hardcore. Any good books on Ascension? I mean, I think all books kind of lead towards Ascension in one way or another. I mean, it depends on what area you really want to work on in that. Like, I've found a lot of books on like core shamanic healing practices to really help. Learning about, I have the book on karmic connections that I'm looking at. I really need to read more. That's something I'm interested in looking at. Whether it's something philosophical, I mean, sometimes it could be something completely unrelated. Is it okay to do the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram around demonology altars, in your opinion? I've been wondering the same thing too. I didn't really start doing it that regularly until recently. I mean, I have before. It's just not something I built into my practice that often. I'm like, I don't know. I had to think about, I'm like, is there a demonolatry version of this I could use instead of calling in the archangels? But, which there may very well be, but. All right. So Matthias asked, what do you think about soulmates and twin flames? You don't hear as much about them on the left-hand path. I actually have a video I did under the Jennifer's Insights playlist about that. But what I will say about it is, we can have many soulmates. It's easy to get lost in, oh my God, they're my soulmate. Twin flame relationships. It wasn't until I was working, I think, with Tila and talking to her about one, and she was like, yeah, twin flame relationships are not like the positive, like glamorous thing people make them out to be. Like, you have to think that if you were originally one soul, something so bad happened that you split into two souls. But twin flame relationships, and I know because I haven't talked to my twin flame in like over a decade, and that ended very badly. Like, you usually have the runner and the chaser, and often they're not even romantic relationships, but like I've heard more horror stories about twin flames than I have heard happy endings. So, hey Eddie, how you doing? Just finished D&D, heading to bed. Dropped in to say hi, nerds. Um, so Anne says LBRP is more of a formula. It's not so much of a one. That's a good way to put it. I know it's something that comes from the Golden Dawn tradition. I'm not one for a lot of ceremonial magic. I do like the LBRP if like I really need to do like um a really deep freaking cleanse. Like my neighborhood has been crazy this year. Like between January 1st and February 21st, the house across the street burned down. My neighbor got hit by a car getting. I live in the city, so the neighbor got hit by a car getting out of the car at night. Luckily, she had just gotten her child out of the car before that happened by hit and run. I witnessed a running shootout going down the street that left one person dead a block from here, and then the house across the corner had across the intersection had a fatal house fire. So I was like, there's some weird mojo going on in this neighborhood. I smoke cleansed the fuck out of everything. I LBRP'd it at like every room in the house, and you know, I just was like, there's just some weird energy going on here. So it's perfectly okay to make up your own version of the LBR. But yeah, I mean, I think most things are adaptable. For me, because of it's one of the things with my neurodivergent stuff is like I have a terrible time remembering recitations like that. So like when I do the LBRP, I actually have to have it printed out or like have like the video of someone like reciting it up because I don't remember. And I'm lucky if I can remember what direction is in what direction. Yeah, when I used to have to do directional candles, I would have to write on them like east is this, you know, east candle with whatever the corresponding element was. There's some things that my brain just does not grasp onto. Let's see. The god names of the LWP about the four elements directions comply with the theme of the four watchtowers. Yeah, that makes sense. Can prayer alone towards a deity be an effective way to maintain a oh, absolutely. Like most of the time in my communications, I'm just talking to them. Like there's a big difference between like worship and I like to think of it as working partnerships. So like I'm working with Lucifer, I'm working with Lilith, with any of these entities. Like Lucifer is my patron, so like I'm more likely to do a prayer offering to Lucifer. Let's see, I'm trying to think what else. And you can just make up your own prayers in that sense. I mean, you don't have to use something that's pre-written by someone else. Just I like to speak from my heart and speak extemporaneously when it comes to that. So yeah, let's see. Thai says, I think my ex was my twin. Oh my God, I couldn't think of anything worse in terms of being absolute opposites. Couldn't have any less chemistry. My twin flame, we were literally just the same person, I think, in two different bodies. Well, actually, more to the point, we were exactly alike in all the wrong ways. Like the same, like we got angry in the same way, the same kind of temperament, and stuff like that. And it just, yeah. Like I never pursued a romantic relationship with this person because I was like, this would just be bad. That's cool, Eddie. You do the LBRP with the name of Lucifer's consorts. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you could like shoot me a message and let me know like how you do that, that'd be awesome. Yes, I do a lot of work in an astral temple. I built my astral temple maybe about 2 years ago. And it's just kind of like a place that I can kind of go to kind of collect myself when I'm on the astral realm or to like have meetings with different entities and spirits. It's I like it. It's pretty chill. I wish I could create it in like a real space because it would be totally rad. But like I like doing work in the astral realm. I think it's really great. this is going to be a topic in my accessibility magic series, because like when you think about like if someone like right now, since my hip is acting up, I'm having a lot more trouble with mobility. I was like, I had to walk to the kitchen earlier. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Or it was taking me an extremely long time to walk a very short distance. So like to think of, casting a circle and setting all this stuff up is sometimes a lot. So, or if someone's in a wheelchair, it's doing that astral temple work is really beneficial. It's like, it's the power of our intentions. Do our intentions need to be a candle, a fire pit, or can it be a fire pit in your astral temple and, no cleanup afterwards? Have I read the Elric of Melniboné Saga? No, I have not. Is that a novel, or I do not read a lot of fiction, to be honest. If it is. Adrian says, I love using mugwort to help me out. Oh yeah, mugwort's great. For astral travel. Like I have all the different flying ointments that I use. They all kind of work in slightly different ways. I am working. I have to put a presentation together for the Botanica Obscura conference on Friday, which I at least have an outline for now. I figured this all started as me testing because I'm doing a live stream as part of that on Thursday. I'm like, I should probably figure out how to run a live stream again in advance. So, what do you think about doing lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, and the astral temple? I don't think that would be bad at all. I'm trying to think for me because I can't remember. I guess for me, I would just have to kind of wing it when it comes to the directions and memorizing the different things. But if I don't see that as being particularly, because I mean you want to keep your temple protected. I had neglected mine at some point, and I don't know, someone trashed the place. It was kind of covered in like black tar goo for a bit, so I had to do some astral cleaning to get it taken care of. But having good energetic hygiene, especially if you're doing a lot of work in the astral realm, because you can get astral parasites, but usually they're not. I haven't had any that were super serious. Like I do so much like energetic cleansing that I really don't have to deal with it that much anymore. I'm going to take another sip of my diet cranberry juice from the Red Goblet of Doom. That once was a candle. Yeah, there's so many great herbs that help with astral travel. Yeah, that's true. That would be good. Practicing things in the astral realm is a good way to learn and perfect these different practices and rituals. I have different ritual spaces within my temple, or different ways of getting from here to there. Like I have sort of like a healing pool or like lake kind of thing with a waterfall. So like if there's like a cleansing kind of thing that needs to be done, it's done there. I have 2 different vortices or portals that I use for recharging positive energy and dumping shitty energy into. Do I use the Ouija board? I really don't on my own. I have with other people. I just recorded a video recently about like actually it's the next coming up for the accessibility magic. I think it drops on Monday, or will drop on Monday, about making divination work for you. And of course I completely forgot to mention Ouija boards in it. But anyways, it's not my favorite way to work. I mean, I know some people do. Like, I feel like when I do it, it's just me pushing the thing on the board. Like, do you incorporate magic into your cooking? If by magic you mean summoning Uber Eats and DoorDash, then yes. I don't do a whole lot of cooking. The fact that I even will make food for myself is no small feat. But I mean, with the Reiki that I do, like it kind of, the way I sort of incorporate it into my daily life is sort of having a general call, pulling that energy in and through into all I touch and stuff for the greatest healing good. So technically, yes. Who do I work with right now? I mean, most of the time, I mean, Lucifer would be my patron. Lilith. I've been working with Medusa more lately. And in a couple videos I've talked about that. I've had something new come through, the goddess Metropolis. And I'm trying to figure that one out. Because it doesn't seem to be tied to any kind of pantheon or anything. Might be that actually might be something that's more alien, to be honest. Have I worked with Arbitel or planetary intelligences? Not as of yet. I haven't done too much in the planetary magic realm. Yeah, with pendulums. I feel better with pendulums. I have actually 2 awesome pendulums. I'll show you. Apparently, I'm not allowed to own crystal pendulums because they just immediately break or get lost. But this is my favorite one. Actually, you can buy it. It's the top twists off, so it's like an empty vial. And I filled this with Herkimer diamonds, and there's a little sliver of moldavite in it. It's got a nice weight to it, and the chain is not too long, so I don't generally feel like I'm moving it when I use it. And I have a really cool pendulum board that I got a few years ago, actually in the before times, that I like. So, because at least that one, it's got the yes and no. But you can do a pendulum without that. You can just be like, show me a yes, show me a no, and it'll do its thing. And what just fell? Something just fell. Oh, not sticking. And then I have a resin one that has wolfsbane in it. This one I like I sometimes switch with. This one just has a really long cord on it or chain on it, so it's a little more unwieldy. Who is Medusa to me? I like to work with Medusa usually on something that like I'm seeking justice on or a little bit of revenge. But I work with the more traditional aspects of Medusa in that sense. And she a lot of times, like she first started coming through when I was working with Astarte. But I like that energy. So do says, do you incorporate and practice what Curtis Joseph teaches? Not specifically. I mean, I know Curtis and Bonnie really well, so it's more of just talking to them normally. And I hop on their live. I'll check out their live streams sometimes. So I'm not on his Patreon and whatnot. But have you worked with Sephirons and Arachne? A little bit. I feel like I need to work with Arachne more. I'm trying to remember where. Oh, it was lessons in how not to annoy Belial. I don't know. This was a couple years ago, but I was being really wishy-washy on something, and I was working with Belial on the Astral. And it's like I kept going back and forth on, I want this, I want this, oh, I don't want this, I want this, I want this. Help, help, help. And I think he just got annoyed that with my wishy-washiness. He's like, oh, we'll give you the treatment, and called in Arachne, and she spun a web, and I ended up dangling upside down by my feet. I'm like, okay, point taken. It was like, you could just stay here until you like learn your lesson and figure shit out. Yeah, there's different well, Arachne and Sephiroth's. I think Arachne, I don't know if backwards out, if Arachne is the Greek version and Sephiroth's is the Roman, not pantheons I'm super like familiar with, but because a lot of times you'll have like the same entity that just kind of exists in different, or the archetype of an entity that is in different pantheons. So is Arachne like Spider Mommy? um Quite possibly. And there's also like the spider goddess, like or working with like the animal spirit of the spider. So, excuse me. Yeah, you'll find excuse me. You'll find that a lot is that you'll have like it's kind of like a goddess of love and war. Well, which one do you want to work with? Or an underworld goddess. Which one do you want to work with? I mean, you can work with the deific masks of them all, or you know, like for a goddess of love and war, do you want to work with Astarte? Do you want to work with, who, kind of goes into the overlap with Venus and Aphrodite and some of the other ones like that. So, yeah, it's a lot of archetypal work, a lot of archetypes that exist within culture to culture, which is very fascinating as to how the human mind developed, religion and spirituality, um, way back in the day when you didn't have the internet. And there's so much overlap. Have you worked with Nyx? Minimally. One of my favorite Oracle decks is the Wisdom of the House of Night, which is a Nyx-based Oracle deck. So a lot of times when I do work with her, I work with her kind of through that particular deck. And she's always on point. So that's one that I use in like the Oracle readings that I do. Actually, just got a cool new deck. It came in the mail yesterday. It's called the Devil's Deck. So it's kind of got a gold foil. It's a tool for satanic enlightenment created by Shiva Honey, with illustrations by Alexander Corey, Lucian Greaves, and Shiva Honey. So, but I haven't explored it too much. But it's more of like an oracle kind of deck where you've got like different cards, and it corresponds to a book that she wrote that I just got for Reading Club, The Devil's Tome by Shiva Honey. I think that might be a little bit more on the Satanic Temple non-theistic side of the Satanic realm, but still interesting. I like learning shit. Have you ever worked with the left-hand path version of Hecate? Yeah, I mean, I think that's mostly the version of Hecate I work with is probably the left-hand path version. I don't work with her as much as I work with Lilith. I mean, sometimes it's just like it just goes in phases where like I'm working with, like I feel like last year. Well, no, last year I worked with Lucifer a lot, and I took a little bit of break and really took a deep dive into working with Santa Muerte. So that was a lot of my work last year, and I love Santa Muerte to death. No pun intended. Although she likes stuff, man. That altar is always crowded because she's always snatching things from my house. She's like, "Oh, that thing over there, you see that? I want that." The deck that I showed, I got this through her website, which is, I mean, I think if you Google Shiva Honey, where did I put the thing? I have a card. Serpentine.com. I'll put that in the, I'll put it in the chat. If it lets me, there we go. She sells a lot of different kinds. Serpentin AE. I mean, she sells a lot of ritual AEE.com. I think that's the right link. She sells she does a lot of like ritual supplies and stuff like that. That thing you have, I want that. Yoink. Yeah. And she also wrote a really cool book. I am very excited about this. It's going to be hard to show. It's called The Devil's Death, Your Satanic Companion for Grief and Dying. And I was really fascinated. Postcard that was in the book. But I'm really fascinated by this because it's got a lot of. It actually made me like even just looking. I haven't read it yet. Like even just looking at the table of contents. Lost the word for that there for a minute. Like satanic funeral planning. You know, how do you know? Thinking, I'm not, I'm not getting any younger, but like thinking, like, oh crap, what happens if I die and my parents have a church funeral? We can't have that. So there's different rituals in here for the dying, for death and grieving. So I'm really weirdly looking forward to reading this book. Yeah. It's interesting with Santa Muerte because there's like two kind of deviations within how she's worshipped and worked with. It's like you have the traditional like Mexican Catholic way of working with Santa Muerte, and then you have sort of like the occult way of working with Santa Muerte, and there's some overlap between them. Like I particularly like, while I know the Roman Catholic Rosary better from having gone to Catholic school, I prefer the non-traditional prayers of the Santa Muerte Rosary. Giggles from the afterlife while seeing the church get set on fire during the funeral. Yeah. I mean, I've experienced a lot of death in my life and of friends and colleagues and stuff over the years, and some of them I'm just like, their families did them dirty. Yeah. I think there was one friend where I wasn't there during the internment, but I think the spirit was less than pleased because like a flock of crows went flying by very loudly over the internment. What's the most supernatural spirit experience I've had? Oh, there's a lot of them. A lot of them, the most, well, the ones I remember the most are like from early childhood. Like I remember telling my mom how because I live in Pennsylvania, so I remember telling my mom how I remembered when Hurricane Agnes came through because it really hit the Scranton Wilkes-Barre area with a lot of flooding, and there was a lot of casualties and death. And one of the things that happened because of the flooding was um, the coffins rose from the ground from the water and were like kind of floating down the streets. And I was telling her how I remembered that. And she's like, sweetie, that happened like 2 or 3 years before you were born. I'm like, but I can see it like from like I'm on top, like on a rooftop or something. I'm like, I can see this happening. And I'm like, well, I don't know how I remember this. A lot of it like is dream stuff. Like my mom has abilities. She just finds them annoying and just kind of just be like, yeah, it's weird. I had this dream about like this person I worked with, and at the office back in the '70s, and then I woke up in the morning and their like obituary was in the newspaper. I'm like, and you wonder why your daughter's a witch? Let's see. Matthias says, I was in my mother's antique shop and I saw a green outdoor frog statue and I heard her say she wanted it. And I said, well, you get the money, and she got the money to me, so I took it home. Cool. Yeah, I've had a lot of supernatural experiences over the years. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you mentioned before that you're on the autism spectrum and have ADHD. I do too. How do you think these conditions interact with your spiritual work? Love your work. It's I'm trying to think of a good way to describe how it interacts with my work. And that's part of why I'm doing the what's it called, the accessibility magic series, because and now my ADHD is erasing the memory of my short-term memory is terrible. My long-term memory is terrifyingly accurate. The video that just dropped recently was how I use my ADHD doom boxes to organize my ritual supplies so I can find them easily when I want to do something. I have another one coming out on like how I use it for, or the first one was on meditation tips for that. Because we kind of have to invent our own way of doing things sometimes. And, so many people come to me, they're like, they're afraid they're doing it wrong, or they're beating themselves up. And I've done this too, because they can't do it the way Fancy Pants video is showing them how to do it, or, Grimoire is telling them how to do it. Like there's just things that are daunting to me. Like I can do a lot of different types of divination. The tarot is just daunting to me because there's like too many variables. And I want to have them all exactly correct and memorized. And unless there's a deck that I could really interpret the art of, because I have a degree in art history, so I have a hard time with it. So it's just a lot about us adapting to what works for you. Like the video I did in the first in the accessibility magic series, I'm like, okay, ADHD tips for meditation. Throw out everything you've ever heard about meditation, because it's not going to work for you. And that's the truth. Like I can't, especially for me with the chronic pain, like I can't just sit in a chair with my feet on the floor and meditate, or sit in lotus position and meditate, because I'm going to be, after like 2 or 3 minutes, I'll be like, I'm in fucking pain. I'm in fucking pain. So it just takes time and patience to learn, to get into some of those practices. With working with spirits, like a lot of how I started making and I'm working with especially with the flying ointments that I developed for working with particular spirits, like the Lilith one and the Lucifer one, it really helped me to form that connection better and to quiet my mind a little bit more. Do I use tarot and oracle together? Sometimes I do, yeah. When I do like oracle readings for people, like sometimes I'll pull like the Oraculum Leviathan, which is the one of the Luciferian tarot or Draconian tarot deck. Technically the occult tarot and Daemon tarot or tarot decks that I use. I love the Santa Muerte tarot deck. So a lot of times when I'm doing a reading for something, I'll kind of pull in what makes the most sense for that. It's interesting too, like going back to the autism thing. Like I think sometimes our interactions with the spirit world are just really different. And it's hard to explain how or why they would be different. It's just that, like, I feel like when I work with the spirits that I work with, they meet me on my level. Like they get it in some way. Although I remember one time, like, I mean, I will be working with them and then just, shiny and get lost somewhere. And I remember one time I was working, I think, with Azazel and Belial, and I was like, shit, sorry. I came back and they just kind of made this little like tapping their little, that like watch tap thing that people would do, which I thought was funny. I'm like, sorry. But I think they get it, that. I mean, we're looking at working with beings outside of time. So it's, I mean, I may have been, zoned out for, 10 minutes. To them, that could have been the blink of an eye or 10,000 years. I don't know how that works. Anyone have any other questions or anything they want me to talk about? It's getting around about 2 a.m. here, so I, in theory, should go to sleep. However, I am not tired. While I've taken my melatonin, my nighttime meds, and my Tylenol PM, I'm still here. I've just had a really bad bout of I can't even call it, I don't know if I could call it insomnia. It's just like I have a circadian rhythm disorder, so like I sort of have a delayed sleep phase, which is why it's freaking awesome that I can work for myself from home, because I would waste like most of my vacation days on being late to work because I couldn't sleep. And I tried forcing myself into it and spent thousands of dollars in the process. And sleeping pills don't work for me usually, or they work too well. Like, I don't need to sleep 12 to 15 hours at a time. But yeah, lately I've been on the I can't fall asleep, and I think it's just been the energetic shift that's been going on over the past couple months. It's just like at this time of night, I'm like, oh my god, I must do all the things, I've got like bursting with creativity. Wasn't planning on doing a live stream. I've been streaming for I don't know how long at this point, but just started with me fiddle fucking around to see if I can get my live stream working with Restream. But yeah, like most nights I wasn't falling asleep till like early falling asleep would be 4 to 5 a.m. A couple of days I wasn't falling asleep until like 8 or 10, 8, 9, 10 a.m. So I tried to course correct one night and fucked it up even worse. So slowly, once the time change happens, it usually starts to get a little better, but I think it's just gonna be hit or miss. Like I'm just kind of groggy during the day. Like I'm like, okay, get up, do some things. All right, I'm gonna go lay on the couch for a little while and have a meditation nap. Yeah, you're avoiding your dissertation right now. Yeah. I am avoiding putting together a PowerPoint presentation, but at least got this figured out. So I feel like I made some progress in my day. Because my assistant's here tomorrow. She's been out for the past 2 weeks, so I have just like a whole buttload of products that need to be packaged, that are like all over the place. I have like an entire shelf of oils that need to go into bottles, and yeah. So, and I needed something to do after finishing off the night and making hot foot powder. That didn't involve me being in that half of the house because it's so stinky. Stinky. Well, when you make it in bulk, it's just stinky. I probably should, though, wrap up and get to bed. So if there's any last questions, let me know, or at least wind down, have a snack, and go to bed. Do you have a workshop where you make your products, or do you make them in your home? I do them in my home. It's easier for me to do it that way. Like I thought about getting like a like commercial space to do it, or like a half and half commercial slash retail space. I'm just not quite there yet. Um, but with the way my cycles ebb and flow, it's just easier for me to um be able to be like, well, I can't sleep. It's 3 a.m. I'm gonna go make some shit and come downstairs and make some shit. Um, or to kind of work in, back and forth when I'm in a lot of pain and stuff like that. It's just a lot easier for me to do it. And that way I also have all my stuff kind of connected within a completely magical space all the time. So I think that helps amplify the energy of the products. So what's the best way to incorporate sex magic in your opinion? I mean, it really depends on what you're doing. Or what your intention of it is. You can do solo sex magic, or partnered sex magic, or whatever floats your boat sex magic. It's just, again, it's about the energy that you're working with and putting towards that intention. I honestly, with the ADHD brain, cannot focus on an intention of something that I'm doing magically while having sex. So, yeah, that's. I'm good at multitasking on a lot of things. That is not one of them. But I think it's just, you're building energy and you're adding that energy. Again, if you're using any kind of the fluids as such from that as an offering, like I know Lilith and some of the goddesses like that stuff. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, what makes sense to you to do. It's not necessarily that you have to do sex magic. And it also looks, depends on whose stuff you're reading. There's a lot of books that involve masturbating on sigils. So now the trick question here is, with the way I've been sitting, I'm like, am I going to be able to stand up and walk upstairs to my bedroom? So my hips are starting to get a little cranky. Yes, I've done avocations in my astral temple. I like doing them that way. It's a little easier. I have a sword. It's just way too heavy for me to lift, and I would probably stab a cat and poke a hole in the wall if I was swinging it around in my house. But yeah, I like doing evocations in the astral temple. It's much easier in a lot of ways. And evocation's one of those things. Like I realized after a while, and I've talked to different practitioners about it. Um, that it's sort of like when you have a working relationship with an entity, um, they're always kind of with you in a way. So it's sort of like, making a phone call or text messaging them in the equivalent of evocation. Like, I don't feel like I need, because of my relationship with Lucifer, I don't really need to do a fancy evocation, like beyond being like, hey, Lucifer, you around? What's up? Where other entities, I might do something more formal if it's like the first time or something, or trying to make contact. Or other times, I know early on, like I would work with one entity who would then introduce me to another one. Like Lilith was really great for that in the beginning. She seems to know everyone. So yeah, that's mostly how I've done it. But if you're some people are more comfortable with doing like the full theatrical evocation. It just comes down to what works for you, and that's really what I've been trying to get people comfortable with, because it can, you can end up tripping over your own feet a lot of times in magical practices when you're trying to like do it by the book, or by this person does it this way, this person does it this way, this person does it that way. You can get the same results from a 10-hour ritual that you can from, an astral temple ritual or a 5-minute meditation, spirit contact, prayer, whatever. So it's just what works for you. If you're comfortable doing a 10-hour ritual and have the time to do that, by all means, awesome. I don't. Well, I'm really thank you guys all so much for. I know this is just random and late night, and unplanned, but thanks so much for all the great questions and commentary. This was awesome, and I will. I think this video will be up on my YouTube. I'll have to never can remember how YouTube does the sort of live stream thing because it's been a while since I've done it. May have changed. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget if you haven't, don't forget to like, subscribe, yada yada yada. And I will be dropping another video tomorrow on something or another. I think it's the musical offerings video, but don't quote me on that. I just have like a queue of videos that are like scheduled to drop every day, like probably through next week at this point. Um, and I will be doing another live stream at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, March 16th, as part of the Botanica Obscura. And I will also be, I think, doing some giveaways during that live stream, and as well as, I think, giving away 2 free passes to the conference. And it's a really amazing, I think it's, if you just Google Botanica Obscura, and I think I have it linked in my community tab as well. A lot of amazing speakers and authors. I'm like totally trying not to fangirl out about like some of the awesome people who are speaking at this, because I'm like, I have all your books, you know. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I am starting to get a little, I can tell because my eyes are starting to like not be as open. So anyways, I'll talk to you guys. I'm gonna try to get in like regularly scheduled or randomly scheduled um, live streams. I don't know if I can hold myself to a regularly scheduled live stream, to be honest. But I might try to do random ones here and there on a more regular basis. So, because it's been fun, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.